I didn't think the day was gonna come already. We only just recently finished catching up to Chainsaw Man on stream, what, a month ago? And here we are, preparing for what could be the final chapter of the entire series. Chapter drops in about 10-ish minutes, like 12, 13 minutes. I thought we could hop in stream beforehand and have a little chat. What are we thinking? I'm gonna do a poll. How much cope are you guys on? Right? I'll be honest. For the past 2 weeks, I've been high on copium. I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, part 3's got to happen. We must be getting a part 3. But I can't lie. I woke up this morning and I thought, what if this is the ending? What if there is no part 3? What if this is it? What if Fujimoto just needs a hug? I think Fujimoto. What do you guys think? Are we getting a part 3? I really hope we do. Really. But how are you all doing? No, Bloodness, don't say this is the last day of Chainsaw Man. I really hope it isn't. You guys don't understand, man. When I caught up just like 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, I had so many videos planned for Chainsaw Man. I was like, I can't wait to do some Chainsaw Man chapter reviews again for the first time in like 3 years. And then I finally catch up just for Fujimoto to be like, oh yeah, by the way, the series is ending. What? Why? Why would you do that to me, bro? I see. I respect it, chat. There's a lot of copium going on. You think we're getting Chainsaw Man Part 3? I hope so. I really, really hope you're right. You don't think there needs to be a Part 3, fam? I mean, so here's where I'm at, right? I don't think necessarily Denji needs Part 3. Like, let's say that this is the end, right? That this is the final chapter, full stop. I think the conclusion for Denji's character, one way or another, I think I'm fine with. Because him giving up being Chainsaw Man, I think, was the natural conclusion. Would I have preferred it if he actually gave up Chainsaw Man rather than Chainsaw Man giving up him and Vegeta telling Denji that that's what he needs? Sure, maybe, but the outcome is the same one way or another. So I'm fine with Denji's ending. But it's just other things like, obviously, the Blood Devil plotline never got reintroduced. Denji brought it up a couple times, and he even said straight up one time that, you know, I need to find this Blood Devil. I made a promise to find my friend at one point. Then even he was like, yeah, they're probably not the same, but they wouldn't really be the same, right? But that never got a clear conclusion. But more than anything else is Asa, I hope and wish would get a better conclusion if this was the end, because I think Asa is my favorite character in Chainsaw Man, and I think in the latter half she kind of got sidelined a lot for Yoru, and I like Yoru as well, but neither of them really are gonna get a proper conclusion, I don't feel, unless this is like a 100-page chapter with a little bit of a time skip or some shit. Does Fujimoto have other work, or is this the only series he has? No, he's got other series. So he's got a few one-shots which I really like. Look Back is a good one, and I believe that got turned into a film as well on Amazon Prime. Goodbye Eri is low-key my favorite out of everything that Fujimoto has done. That's another one-shot. I really hope that gets a movie at some point, because Goodbye Eri is fantastic. He's got another manga called Fire Punch, which I haven't read, but it is next on my list to read pretty soon. Currently, in like my own personal time, I'm reading Land of the Lustrous, and once I'm done with Land of the Lustrous, I think I'm going to jump over to Fire Punch. I've seen a lot of people say that Fire Punch is very similar to Chainsaw Man. And if you've read Fire Punch, this being the ending of Chainsaw Man could low-key be kind of to be expected. Do I think it'll follow the trends of new gen mangas and how the internet responds to the ending? Yeah, probably. Like, just in general now with the internet, everything is just either the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. Like, this could be a 6 out of 10 ending, right? But everyone would treat it like a 1 out of 10 ending. Or it could be like a pretty good 7 out of 10 ending, and people will treat it like a 10 out of 10 ending. Everything's got to be the worst thing ever or the greatest thing ever anymore. You can't just have bad or good or mid. What will become of Asa and Yoru now? Well, hopefully, a conclusion, if this is the ending. If not, a setup for part 3. That's the fingers crossed. Who knows? Maybe a part 3 will happen and Denji's story's over. But then again, Denji's so linked with Asa's story, they can't just remove Denji from. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I had so much cope for the last 2 weeks, and then I just started to think that this might be it. There was an interview that Fujimoto did a couple of years ago, a few years ago, in fact, now, just as part 2 was starting, and he said the reason he made part 2 was because he thinks the best way to end a superhero's character is by having them give up being the hero. And he said because Denji hadn't given up Chainsaw Man, that's why he needed to write part 2. Well, that has happened. Yes, Denji may have not been the one to give up Chainsaw Man. At the end of the day, he can't be Chainsaw Man anymore. He has to give up that hero status. Which makes me think that, you know, if Fujimoto had planned this from the very beginning, could be it. Could be it. I really hope it isn't, though. Like I said, I had a lot of videos I really wanted to do. I mean, I'll still do them, definitely, like when the anime drops, but I've noticed that because more and more people read manga nowadays, that when the manga is over for certain shows, the anime, at least in like our little bubble of YouTube, the anime, there's less interest in anime as well. Like Kaiju number 8 was a good example. Kaiju number 8's manga ended, new season dropped, made a video. Thinker. I hope that's not the case here. Like I said, I really want to do chapter review. This is like an ongoing joke between me and the guys, where like all the series that I love to cover just never release chapters, man. Like Black Clover, I used to love covering Black Clover, and I still love covering Black Clover, but you get a chapter once in a blue moon now. One Punch Man, I enjoyed. I loved covering. One Punch Man is one of my all-time favorite series, but a chapter's every 2 weeks, and there's barely any content in a chapter when it does drop. And then the anime happened with One Punch Man as well, and like that was kind of like a reverse of what I was saying about like when a manga ends and the effect it has on the anime. This was the reverse of that. The anime season 3 of One Punch Man was so bad that it tanked One Punch Man. That was another series which made it more difficult for me to cover. What else am I caught up to? One Punch Man webcomic. I'm patiently waiting for another webcomic chapter because I want to cover that. If you ever fancy doing that, maybe. Berserk is another which I want to cover. I finally caught up to Berserk just for it to be on the longest hiatus I think it's been for quite a while. That sucks. And now, finally, I thought, woohoo! I've got a weekly series that I can safely cover on the channel. Happy days. And then Fujimoto's like, actually, no. We'll end it. You know what's good, Zahira? Oh. We got 4 minutes, chat. I am nervous. You guys have no idea, man. I love Chainsaw Man. I do think the most recent, like the current arc of Chainsaw Man was I've been working on it, doing a huge video, which we'll post next week, on like Asa X Denji, which is essentially ended up evolving into the entirety of Chainsaw Man Part 2 Explained. It's a really long video, and I'm more or less nearly done. Just got to add like this final chapter in. and then go over it one more time just to tidy it up. But I must admit, whilst I've been writing it, I do think this War Devil arc has been the weakest arc. It's been very much a hype moments and aura kind of arc, whereas the actual plot, I think, is kind of all over the place. I'll be honest. I'll hold my hand up. I think the last time Chainsaw Man Part 2 was absolutely beyond peak. And my favorite point of the current arc was probably and it wasn't that long ago. Was Asa and Denji in the alleyway, you know, trauma bonding over killing their parents. I thought that was the last time Fujimoto really. But since then, some of the stuff in this arc has been, yeah, like I said, a bit too much hype moments and aura for me. It was an aimless plot, I think, is a decent way of putting it. I don't necessarily think it was aimless, but at the same time, I do. Like, I think it's mainly Denji's character. Denji's character had an ending pre-planned. Fujimoto made that very clear all the way back, like I said in that interview a few years ago before Part 2 even started. He told us Denji's ending about a hero giving up being a hero. Even in Chapter 1, when the zombies are trying to kill him, he says, well, these guys have everything in life. Like, they have more than me. What more do they want? Why do they got to kill me? Why do they need more from me? And then you realize, oh, you know, keeping on dreaming is what keeps you going. So Denji's ending has been kind of foreshadowed for a long time. But the way in which we got there in the last, like, 20 or 30 or so chapters of the story was a little bit wibbly-wobbly. I ain't too sure. I'm not too sure on that. It's about to release Blizzard in 1 minute. In fact, you never know. Maybe Viz messed up. Let's see. It's saying new chapter in half an hour, but the Viz countdown thing is a bit weird sometimes. Like, this says half an hour, but it should be in a minute, I think. Is Chainsaw Man over, Jimsy? Maybe. We will find out in a few minutes' time. Right, it's turn 3. Let's just keep refreshing until it drops. Because it should come out any minute now, if I'm not mistaken. If not, then we're just going to be yapping for another half hour, I guess. Come on, man. Give it to me. Well, this ain't a good start, chat. Is Chainsaw Man crashed Viz? Oh, God. Yeah, Denji never properly mourned Nayuta. Never went to hell to look for power. Yeah, you're right. That's what's giving me cope. It's out Manga Plus. Okay, maybe I need to hop over to Manga Plus. I don't usually use Manga Plus. I'm usually more of a Shonen Jump guy, but this might be what changes that. Oh, wait, never mind. It's out on Shonen Jump as well. Oh, boy. Boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I am scared, man. I am so beyond scared. Stop giving me an error. Chapter 232. Thank you, Chainsaw Man. So we really did go all the way back to the shack. But this doesn't look like it's a complete full time reset all the way back to the time of Chapter 1 because Denji did not have clothes that nice back then. However, he has got his mum's heart problem back and he's coughing up blood. Oh, fuck, he's actually... Oh, my God, this is it. Bro's gonna die. If the theory that the panel of Denji's dad hanging himself is actually Denji. I swear to God. Oh my God, he's even got the eye. Feels like I had a good and bad dream. Wish I'd only have good dreams, like eating with a girl and playing video games. I want a pet dog too. Bro, you had so many, including the best dog of them all. You don't understand. Oh, God. Wait, so it is actually a full-time reset. We're going all the way back to the Mafia, where he got attacked by the zombie devil. I swear to God, oh my God, it's 32 pages. This is 32. This is actually the ending. This is the end of Chainsaw Man. It's 32 pages. What we want is the devil's power, and what I want is the deaths of all devil hunters. Oh man, am I really gonna kick the bucket before even having one good thing happen to me? That's just my luck, though. It's a naked woman. At least I got to have at least one last good dream. That's not a dream, bro. That's power. Blood, blood, blood. 'Tis all mine. This human smells like a dog. I like dogs. This is a contract. I'll give you life. In exchange, you're mine until you die. What? Oops, thought you were the zombie devil. Is it Nayuta? You beat those guys? You could be useful. From today on, you both belong to me. Belong to you? I think not. Humans really are idiotic. Human, behold my battle prowess. I'm Power, the Blood Devil. My power is said to be equal to that of a god. Take this. Bang. Nayuta. A devil at a school? Yep, I'm busy. You two go kill it by yourselves. So busy. Video games? Lucky. Meowie likes her. Why? Meowie, shouldn't you love anyone but me? You shouldn't love anyone but me. That girl has to be the control devil or something. Must be nice to have a happy-go-lucky brain like yours. I am not happy. That girl gets to keep Meowie and a bunch of dogs. My only pet is you, and you aren't even cute. Powie. Weapon. What do you want to kill with today? I used an axe the other day, so give me a chainsaw. This confirms, then, that Pachita wasn't the chainsaw devil. Because chainsaws exist. This confirms that, then. That theory was true. That we had all those years ago. The devil's been exterminated. This area is safe now. Don't touch the blood or the body, please. So what devil was Pachita, then? My theory was either the memory devil or the life devil. I think it's the life devil. Wish I could have gone to school, too. Oh my god, if he stops her from tripping up and killing Bucky. Hey, Power, isn't that a devil too? Turd Power. Hey. Damn it. Oh yeah, Chainsaw Man is over. Chainsaw Man is so over. This is part 2 is so over. Because now she ain't gonna have Yoru. My bad. Thank you, Chainsaw. What? Chainsaw Man? Because, you were fighting with a chainsaw? Oh, yeah. Bye then. Hey, that devil. What the fuck? Was she just saying that, or does she have some sort of what? I'm hungry. I want food. My heart like thumped for a second there. Oh, you have heart thump disease. I know about it because I have medical knowledge. Treat me to a meal and I'll cure it for you. We're having fried chicken, right? And egg rolls, right? And rice, ramen, pot stickers, and ice cream on the way home. I'm broke. Let's go shake down our seniors. The end. Ain't no fucking way, bro. I don't know if I like this or not. I can't decide. I feel like... odd. Okay. So, on paper, it's an ending. I would even go as far to say it might even be a good ending. However, I don't feel fulfilled. I felt like I had another 30 pages left to go. Now, usually these things get fixed in the... I say fixed. I mean, that implies that it needed fixing. Which it might. But usually, in the volumes, you then, you know, when the final volume of the series finally comes out, you usually then get like an epilogue. You know, JJK had it. What else? My Hero, you know, they all have it. They always end up having an epilogue chapter. So there is theoretically one chapter left to go, but we won't get it till like next year, probably, or the end of this year, maybe when the final volume drops. Which kind of sucks because this so desperately needs. I don't know if I like this. I'm gonna let's do a poll. I don't know if how much I fuck with it. Go on, chat. What are we saying? Good, bad, or mid? Yeah, so Greystone, I think that's kind of my issue with it. Or at least the main one. Like, so abrupt. This ending was so abrupt out of nowhere. And the fact that I don't feel that fulfilled. For example, it was the end of the world, right? The world was ending. But at no point did I really feel like the world was ending. Like, there was about 2 panels with the Fumiko variants that were like, oh, India's been taken over by bats and I'm being eaten by bugs. Bugs and bats are everywhere and eating everyone. It was about 2 panels, and that was the closest I got to really feeling like it was the end of the world. I feel like if you were going to showcase the world ending and you wanted to show that on a global scale, we should have seen that in greater detail. Like, you should have showed me Kishibe, because obviously part 1 ended with Kishibe saying he had to go overseas, right, for a mission or whatever. He had to go overseas. Never saw him again. But we should have seen him being eaten alive, not just the Fumiko's telling us that everyone's being eaten and that the world is ending. You know, show don't tell, right? And so I feel like if I actually felt like the world was ending, I would have felt more about the time reset, but don't really. Like, it's nice that Power's back. I thought that was sick. Power being the one to end up saving Denji is really cool. Denji stopping Asa from killing Bucky, thus stopping Yoru taking over Asa, therefore stopping Asa from ever having to go through what she did. Also, because she didn't kill Bucky and Bucky invited her to play football, she's now, you know, has friends. So she no longer feels as much guilt as she did. She will start living life a bit more selfishly. But, like, the teacher's still going to try fuck her, right? Like, that's still a thing that's going to happen for her. It's between mid and bad. That's not a good sign. Mid, something's missing. Mediocre, wanted more. Yeah. Is mid worse than bad? I don't consider mid worse than bad. Mid, to me, is just when your reactions, well, that happened, I guess. Whereas bad is like, this made me angry. But what devil was Pachita truly? I wanted to know. That's what I mean, man. Must have been something powerful. And my theory and my money's always been on... At one point, it was that he was the memory devil. But I actually think he's the life devil. Because... obviously, so chainsaws were originally created for... helping give birth. That was their original purpose of invention back in the 800s, I think it was. They were a tool used for birth. But that's already one tick alongside why it would make sense as to why the birth devil or the life devil, or for whatever reason, would have chainsaws as a weapon. The other thing is it was said that devils, when they are reborn, always hear the sound of a chainsaw. Again, birth. Chainsaws. The sort of like the intestines coming out as like from almost like an umbilical cord. That was another thing that links to birth. I think it would also make sense as to why Makima was so obsessed with Chainsaw Man, with Pachita as the devil of the birth devil, because she was a mother, you know, with like her chains coming out for almost like umbilical cords as well. It would make sense as to why she had this fascination with the birth devil, if that was the case. And it's very clear that, yeah, Pachita wasn't actually the devil of chainsaws, because chainsaws still exist. Maybe Fujimoto wanted to show how much Denji fucked up and now goes for a ending. Like, I'm glad that in theory my guy got a happy ending. I'm glad about that. I guess. Your worst nightmare happened with this ending? Arcade. I'm sorry, my man. Guys, no. You see, this ending isn't the true ending, and the real ending is come out in like a week, guys. Trust me. I respect someone's still got some cope left in them. Senkun, you think this is good but could have been worse either way? Yeah. Like I said, there's parts about this ending I actually like. I like that I was happy. I like that Denji's ended up with power. I like that Asa's fate has been fixed by Denji. Would I have preferred Denji and Asa being together? Yes. Sure. But the Denji and power stuff, I really like. It's just the way we got here. I don't like. I don't like the way we got here. It's way too quick and feels almost kind of forced. Like I said, at no point did I feel like the world was actually ending in Chainsaw Man. I think Fujimoto did a poor job of showcasing that. It was very much, you know... in this case, it was tell, don't show. But, like, guys in chat that are still coping hard for a part 3, I apologize, but that shit says end, bro. That shit says the end. At least with part 1, it ended saying part 1 public safety arc over, right? Or whatever. Yikes. Right, let me see what you guys are saying. It felt like Fujimoto was planning a lot more things and decided not to. We were expecting to see power in hell eventually. It looked like Fumiko was planning something bigger with the copies. Something tells me that the power stuff, now that I've seen it here, something tells me the power stuff might have been planned. I don't know. I honestly can't tell. It just feels so random how we got here. And I am starting to maybe think that maybe people are right when they say, like you're saying, Greystone, when I've seen a lot of people say that it felt like part 2 story changed and stayed off course at some point. It was better than you expected from Fuji. Oh man, I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing, like, I didn't read Fire Punch, so I don't know how the Fire Punch ending was. But I've seen people say that Fire Punch's ending was controversial, maybe. How does Pachita eating himself reset the timeline? This is another thing I'm a little bit confused by, because that's never been the case. Pachita's power has never done that. Like, it just creates gaps in the timeline and, like, auto-generates in memories. Like, what I thought was going to happen is that the only way in which I can see it making sense that Denji's... I was going to say the only way I can see it making sense for Denji is the fact that he never saw himself as Denji in his entire life from the moment he found Pachita. He was just... Everything was just linked to that for him. And so him being made to forget all of that sent him all the way back to square one. But that... I don't know, man. This is what you guys saying. Yo, let me smash 81. Member for 9 months. My guy. Bro didn't know what to do after part 1. Zero direction at all after Makima. A lot of manga are bad endings. Part 2 was just bad since Aquarium. I don't necessarily agree with him not knowing what to do after part 1. Like I said, there was an interview, which I'll mention in the chapter review. I'll put out tomorrow probably. But he did say after part 1 that the reason he has to do a part 2 is because Denji hadn't given up being a hero, right? So he clearly had an arc in mind for Denji, but I think it got out of control. In retrospect, seeing that this is the ending, I wish part 2 was shorter. And it kills me to say this because she's probably my favorite character. I would have cut down some of the Asa stuff in retrospect. Because it's not had a payoff. It hasn't had a payoff at all. I'll be honest. I'm going to hope that the epilogue, the real final chapter that will come out with the final volume, will be fully focused on Asa. That's what I hope is going to happen. And I think it needs to quote-unquote fix the ending a bit. How did Power heal Denji when she found him? He isn't a devil, so blood can't hit him. Let me go back and... It's a good point. Good point. But I guess it's because it was a contract, right? So... I think her just giving him the blood because he was missing blood, right? And so just by giving the blood, it was the contract. Like, she gave him blood because he was bleeding out, and in return, he was hers. Similar to how, like, which reflects what Denji did to Pachita, right? It's the same contract, actually, that Denji did to Pachita, but in reverse. Pachita was the one bleeding out, and Denji gave, let Pachita bite him. Obviously, it's a devil, so it's slightly different, but he gave Pachita blood and said that this is a contract the exact same way Power did. So I get that. It's on Shonen Jump and on Manga Plus, Jordan. Power healed Denji before when he was being hunted. Yeah, but wasn't that... What against Makima? Yeah, but wasn't he... He was the devil at that point. My theory is that Pachita was a sadness devil or fear devil because now after Pachita eats himself and erases the concept of sadness, now everyone is happy. I can sort of get that. So did the timeline reset or did everyone forget about Chainsaw Man? We'll have the new young control devil, but that wouldn't make sense because what happened to Yoru and Fami and... Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, like, time reset in the sense that we went back to chapter 1. We went back to broke Denji living in his shed. But... And then he did some missions. Like, he did the Gun Devil stuff still, right? Because Nayuta comes in and she says... I know, there's not even the Gun Devil mission. It's so... Yeah, this timeline resets so strange because we go back to part 1 Denji at the beginning of part 2. Because we have Yoru, we have Asa before Yoru. So confused actually. Yeah, I'm trying to follow the timeline. It's part 1 Denji. It's chapter 1 Denji. No, we go all the way back to chapter 1 and then we skip to part 2. But yeah, you make... That's exactly what I was just thinking, the big W. Like, so he goes back to part 1 with the zombie devil, which means that Aki and Himeno and everyone... It means that everyone is alive. But it's also part 2 timeline because Bucky is here with Asa. And Nayuta is the control devil, not Makima. If there's no Gun Devil, Aki's brother never died and he never joined public safety. Yeah, but there is a Gun Devil, right? Even if we went off the... Even if we said that all the devils that Pachita ate and their concepts still gone, which clearly they're not actually because death is a thing. Because Denji was going to die, and all the zombie and all the mafia and everything died. So clearly all the devils that Pachita ate exist again. And at no point did Pachita eat the Gun Devil anyway, so the Gun Devil still exists. And so, and we didn't go that far back in time, so you'd think that Aki would still be in public safety. But I don't know. I'm starting to be even more confused. Yeah, I don't understand how this timeline reset works. There's no shot that there won't be a part 3. I'm sorry to tell you, buddy. I don't think there's a part 3. We will get one more chapter when the volume is out, and that is it. That's how that'll be when we get the true ending. But like I said, I think that chapter will focus on Asa. I don't know why Aki ain't a thing. And it's like, man. I'm getting the vibe, chat, that we ain't fucking with this ending too much. Oh dear. Yeah, like I said, we will get one more chapter because all final volumes come with a final epilogue chapter. So, but that's not going to be for a while. Just let me see. How many? Where is the volumes at currently? There's 23 volumes currently of Chainsaw Man. Let me just where is volume 23, which released just over a month ago. That ended with the Denji. Okay, so there's one volume left. Let me have a look. So February 4th, 2026 was the volume. And then the one before that came out in September 4th. And then July 4th. And April 4th. Okay, that was a quick turnaround. April, May. Oh no, April, May. I forgot. April. Okay, so there's 4 months between 20 and 21. July, okay, so it's about every 4 months. So we will get the real final chapter of Chainsaw Man in about 4 months. Asa, remember? Yeah, that's what makes me think that the epilogue will focus on Asa. Whoa, yeah, came undone. That's what makes me think the final chapter, the epilogue chapter, might focus on Asa because she called him Chainsaw Man, right? And it's like, I'm going to assume that when she says thank you, Chainsaw Man, this panel of Pachita's heart showing is more metaphorical and symbolical rather than literal, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he did remember Pachita, actually. Her saying Chainsaw Man might have actually brought Denji's memories back. Because his demeanor does change after she says it. Because before he's all like, you know, he's apologetic, and then she says, "Thank you, Chainsaw Man." Whether she means it as in she has her memories or not, and then Pochita suddenly shows up as the Chainsaw Heart. And then Denji's demeanor sort of does change, like as if he's just been hit by Gojo's Limitless. He's like, "Huh, Chainsaw Man? Oh yeah." Awkward pause. "Hey, that devil." It's like when he says here, "Hey, that devil," is he really talking about Bucky? Or has he got his memories back and he's now asking about Yoru? I don't know. My heart like thumped for a second there. Yeah, no, you know what? Now I'm starting to think that maybe he did actually, maybe Pochita did actually respawn in that moment. But at the same time, he couldn't have, because the way Pochita's power works, we saw with the Prime Minister when the Ear Devil was eaten. The concept of ears was erased, and then when the Ear Devil was thrown up again and ears returned, the Prime Minister of Japan, because they'd written down all the excerpt, like they'd written down what happened during the period of time where the ears were gone, and they were writing down like something, you know, EAR devil has been eaten. We don't know what ears are. And then the Prime Minister reads that and be like, I don't have any memory of not knowing what ears are. So if Pochita had returned, then everyone would have got their memories, but I don't know, bro. I'm genuinely stumped. I am genuinely stumped. Perkan Koi, the ending feels like part 1. I'm still hoping for part 3. It saying the end is what makes me think it isn't, because at least with part 1, it ended by saying part 1 over, right? Like, let's double check. Chapter 97, right? Yeah, so chapter 97 ended with end of part 1, public safety arc. Shake down our seniors, is that implying Aki and Himeno are alive? That's a good point. So maybe we'll get Aki in the epilogue chapter. What about Reza? Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking. I think if you're going to reset the timeline, surely you have to show Denji and her reconnecting, right? Did Asa reinvent Chainsaw Man by mentioning it so Pochita respawns as an actual Chainsaw? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what... Yeah, actually, maybe that's a... That could be almost like an explanation as to why everyone didn't get their memories back, is that this is a new Chainsaw Man, right? This is a new Pochita. Similar to how when America recreated nuclear bombs, the whole world didn't suddenly remember Hiroshima, right? They didn't suddenly remember actually what nukes were when they got recreated, because they had to explain, be like, oh yeah, this seems to be a very large scale, powerful bomb that is made by this, and the other. They didn't then say, this is the same weapon that the US dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki. They didn't say that, right? So, by reinventing that thing, yeah, that would explain why everyone didn't suddenly just didn't get their memories back. If the Chainsaw Devil is gone, how does Chainsaw exist? Pochita wasn't the Chainsaw Devil. There's zero chance, because he very rarely even ever got called the Chainsaw Devil. He was always Chainsaw Man. Wouldn't Reza be a Russian puppet? Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's true. She would be in Russia, right? She'd still be in the Red Rooms because Chainsaw Man doesn't exist. Therefore, she would have no reason to go after Chainsaw Man. So they would never meet. Yeah, so Denji and Reza would never actually meet in this new timeline. That's true. Denji's heart looks like Pochita. Yeah, that's what. So I am now leaning more into the sense that Pochita exists again, but it's a different Pochita, and it won't be contractual. Like the whole contract of you showing me a normal life won't exist anymore. Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted as well. Like, it's a happy ending on paper, but I do feel, still feel unfulfilled. I wonder what Pochita actually was, though, because him eating himself shouldn't have reset the entire universe. He's eaten other devils like death, but it didn't. Yeah, I'm a little bit. That's my biggest confusion, is actually how the timeline reset has worked. Because it's very clearly a literal timeline reset, but the timeline's all over the place. Right? Because we start the new chapter. This is chapter 1. This is chapter 1 of part 1, right? Going to the with the zombie devil stuff. This is literally part 1, chapter 1 of part 1. Even Power looks like her. This is Wild Power, right? Before she was captured by public safety. But then this, so if we had literally gone back to chapter 1, part 1, then this would be Makima, but it's Nayuta, who didn't exist until the end of part 1. Denji and Power then get hired into public safety and are sent out on a mission to a school, and that school just so happens to be Asa's school, but at the time of part 2, because her killing Bucky was chapter 1 of part 2. And so, yeah, I am kind of a bit confused. I really like this panel. I just want to say that this panel basically sums up everything that I kind of was hoping would get. You have Denji throwing away the chainsaw to catch and save Asa, right? I adore this. This is beautiful because this is literally what Denji had to do all along. He had to throw away chainsaw. Fuck the chainsaw. He needed to throw it away and abandon it in order to actually get Asa and save Asa. That's what he had to do. So I these two panels, perfection. And then, but the actual timeline reset stuff, I don't understand. What are you guys saying, chat? Let me look. Let me in this poll. Let's see if any of you guys have a, because this is the stuff I'm going to struggle to write about in the chapter review tonight. Ay. Yeah. So Kef Bedji, I've said your name wrong. I apologize. Yeah, you're... You're, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That's what I don't understand. Pachita has existed for millennia, I'd assume, yet the ending feels like after Pachita eats himself, it only changes the things that happen after the manga starts. Yeah, that's a good point. We know that Pachita existed pre-manga, because he'd been eating devils before. He'd eaten the Nazi devil, the nuke devil, all this stuff, and Makima had watched it all. And Denji found him injured. So that's another good point. So many things and plots were left unanswered, which annoys me so much. I don't necessarily think there's many plots left unanswered anymore. There's some lesser important ones, like it would have been nice to get a resolution to Kishibe, right? And we felt like we needed a resolution to Kishibe, because the actual resolution we now have of Kishibe is really cheap, right? It's just Kishibe saying, let me use it. So the final panel of Kishibe is, Makima is there, the new controller. I'm going to entrust her to you. I'm about to get busy. Figured leaving her in your care would be the best course of action. That was Kishibe's conclusion. Wow. What? You know what I mean? Like, technically, Kishibe's character did get concluded. Was it, in hindsight, garbage? Yeah. But I don't think there's many of them. Like, Power got resolved, Asa got resolved, Denji got resolved, and Nayuta's returned. They're the four big resolutions that we got. And by proxy, Yoru got resolved by essentially never entering the story. Do I like the resolutions? No. Not really. Other than the Denji Power one. But we did get resolutions. This is probably a dream because the previous chapter had Denji saying he'll be able to dream again, so this is probably Denji dreaming of all good things. Maybe. Right, let's catch up what you guys are saying. The Big Lebowski ending. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. I need to watch The Big Lebowski after everything that's happened. Because a lot of people have said that Chainsaw Man's going to go down the Big Lebowski ending. Because I think Fujimoto has talked about how that's one of his favorite films or whatnot. Aki 47 nowhere to be found. Yeah, I'm gonna hope and assume that he's gonna show up in the epilogue. Power asking Denji to find her again felt like a setup for some beautiful somber moment in the future, but it literally gets zero resolution and Power is just a reset. This is what I mean. We did get endings to these characters. It's just that necessarily they weren't good. I didn't mind the Power and Denji one as much. Is it what I wanted? No. But out of all these endings we got, it's probably my favorite. I wanted Asa and Denji to get together. Like I said, there was that one. This panel is probably the best part of the final chapter. What about Quan Chi? She only appeared in 2 chapters in part 2 to defend Denji and just appears. Again, that's another... She kind of goes into the Kishibe category of just... poof. We never even got a name for John Katana. Katana Man doesn't even have a name. And Katana Man's still going to hunt down Denji. Katana Man's just going to kill Denji, actually. Yeah, Katana Man's just going to kill Denji because... Or power. Or both. Because Katana Man's dad still died. He's still going to be Katana Man. He's still going to want to kill Denji. Because I think that's what it was, right? Like, or then again, I know Katana Man wanted to kill Chainsaw Man, but surely he should have known that it was Denji that killed his dad, right? He would have known his dad's business a little bit, enough to know that Denji was owing him money, right? Oh, the teacher's corpse in the devil panel. Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So that 100% resolves Asa and Yoru then, because the class president will no longer be jealous of Asa because the teacher is dead. The teacher that wanted to bang Asa is dead. So the class president doesn't have a reason anymore to make a contract with the Justice Devil and kill Asa. Which means she will never die. Which means Yoru can't take her over. Okay. What happened with Nostradamus and the Age of Devils or whatever? Well, that was resolved when Denji ate the Death Devil. Again, another conclusion that, in hindsight, was pretty lackluster. Fujimoto needs to sort out his depression and nihilism because he has great ideas, but then always destroys the plot because he has to shoe in nihilism. So I like nihilistic stories a lot of the time, but I do agree with that. Someone needs to give Fujimoto a hug and probably therapy. Handful cookie. That's exactly what I was missing from this chapter, actually. Now you mentioned it. You're right. I wish that after this, that Denji asked Asa out. Something like, do you wanna hang out? You know? And then Asa, like you say, saying, sure. And then Denji saying, I want to see a penguin. And Asa saying, okay, let's go to the aquarium. I would have loved that. If that was the ending, Fujimoto would have cooked. I would have liked that a lot. I think there are a lot of characters that don't need explaining. They basically showed up to play a role in the fight. Don't know if I need much care in the writing. So it's about Denji, no. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, I don't think you need an ending to Quan Chi or Kishibe. Would I have liked better ones than what we actually ended up getting for them? Especially Kishibe, who was just sort of like, I'm gonna go now. Bye. Yeah, sure, I would have liked something a bit better than that. But it wasn't a necessity. Like I said, all the main characters got a conclusion. It's just whether or not you actually think that conclusion was good is a whole different matter. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, the big W. Technically, Power did kill him, so Katana Man should go after Power. But Denji's gonna be there, and Power's So I guess, yeah, it'll just be the Blood Devil that the Katana Man gets a raging hate boner for now. It seems a lot of you guys are similarly confused regarding the time skip time reset in regards to Makima and things as me. I don't know why Makima is the control devil at this point, because like I was saying, we went back to the beginning of part 1 and then immediately skipped to the beginning of part 2 timeline wise, right? It's not like it was part 1 and then Denji goes to Asa's school and it's a different time period. It's like it's pre-Bucky and it's what Asa would have been like actually at that point. But no, we suddenly skipped to the beginning of part 2. So I am a little confused about that. But after all, Dennis got a good life. Yeah, he did. Denji has ended up getting a good life. His illnesses have been cured by Power. He gets to live with his sister, Power. Yeah. Kobani's another one where we got an ending to Kobani. I don't think Kobani needed a conclusion more than what she had. She got her conclusion by having a legitimate legal reason now to never see her parents again. She escaped her parents. That was her dream. That was her wish, and she got that. So Pachita's not the Chainsaw Devil? No. Well, we don't know what devil he actually was. I thought he was the birth devil, but there's no way of knowing based off this chapter what we actually got. Nayuta is here instead of Makima for some reason. Power saves Denji at the zombie devil area instead of Makima when in part 1 she wasn't even there. Then Power, who is known for not liking humans, revives him. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, the reason Power got on with Denji before was because Makima made her, right? Whereas, yeah, in this one, she just happens to be killing all the zombies, which makes sense. Lots of blood. But then, this human smells like a dog. I like dogs. It's a bit... I don't know. Not... Makima was initially after Pachita, and since Pachita doesn't exist, maybe she never manifested. And so whereas Nayuta was never after Pachita. Maybe, like, if you maybe want to themes and such your way to it. That's probably the best explanation I've seen of it so far, I suppose. But then Makima, the person that is Makima would still exist. Her goals would be different, right? It would be the personality of Nayuta in Makima's body still. Denji at the beginning says he wishes he had a dog, which obviously Pachita, yeah. Power says that Denji smells like a dog. Yeah, which I don't really get because she likes cats. And we also see the Pachita heart when Asa says Chainsaw Man. Yeah, part 3 conspiracy. Damn, the cope. How can he smell like dogs? Yeah, I agree with that. The more I think about it, the reasoning for Power choosing to save Denji is current. Unless I see a better reasoning off the top of my head, first reaction, power saving Denji is maybe some of the biggest load of plot convenience I've ever seen. Did Kishibe have an eye patch? No, I don't think so. No. He just had stitches. The fact we didn't get all 4 of the Apocalypse Sisters together is criminal. Yeah, I would have really liked to have seen all of them. Yeah, Denji is dirty, but smelling like a dog. Nothing in the chat makes any sense. Just mindless fan service. I don't even think it's mindless fan service because I don't think many people wanted this. Like mindless fan service would have been just giving Asa and Denji happy ending, happy days, happily ever after, right? Okay. Well, it was an ending at the end of the day, all right? Let me check Discord. Let me see if Adil's ranted, because Adil didn't like Chainsaw Man Part 2 very much. In fact, I was the only person really that liked Chainsaw Man Part 2. And I've got a feeling that everyone on ABD is going to clown me and say, told you so. Shit's ass. Alright, overall then, let's all give our final thoughts. What are we thinking? Final thoughts before I go. I think I'm really I'm personally very much in the middle. And the main thing I don't like or necessarily don't understand is what the fuck is going on with this timeline. It doesn't make any sense. The year, the months, the days, the minutes, the years, they don't match up. Who do you think will be Denji's girlfriend? Asa would be who I wanted. I wished on this panel that they hinted towards that a little bit. Like we were saying earlier about maybe them talking about hanging out together and Denji saying, I want to go see penguins, and then Asa being like, I know an aquarium. That's what I would have liked, personally. Because in this new timeline, there's no reason for Denji to ever meet Reza, because he's not Chainsaw Man, so she'd still be out in Russia. She would never get to meet him. If Pachita's raised, why do chainsaws still exist? And if then reinvented and Pachita still lies, if we've seen, then surely Chainsaw Man should exist. So it was a very popular theory. I remember we spoke about it in a chapter review right at the beginning of part 2. It became likely that Pachita was never actually the Chainsaw Devil. That was just an alias he had because he had chainsaws. Like I said, I thought he was going to be the Birth Devil, and because chainsaws were originally created for like C-sections and things. So that would explain why he had chainsaws. And then I thought the Chainsaw Man that saved Denji from the Falling Devil originally in Hell was going to be the real Chainsaw Man. And the reason he was so powerful was because everyone feared Pachita, thinking he was the Chainsaw Devil. But then in reality, the actual Chainsaw Devil got really strong. But I'm now assuming that what ended up being Gorsaw Man, the Gorsaw devil that faced Denji and Yoru. I guess that was meant to be the Chainsaw Devil that killed Yozu or whatever her name was, and saved them from hell. Fuck knows. No, Pachita's definitely the Chainsaw Devil because of raising chainsaws is very important. Yes, very true. And, you know, there's so much themes and such as to why chainsaws would... the Chainsaw Devil should be the hero of hell, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Nah, he was never the... And then I thought if he was the birth devil, it would make sense as to why him eating concepts would the raising from history because they would never have been born. Why did everyone call him Chainsaw Devils? No one really did. I don't think anyone ever... I think there was one instance where he was named as Chainsaw Devil, but I can't remember who said it. But he was always ever referred to as Chainsaw Man. Even if there was for example, even if Chainsaw Man's name was ever mentioned in the same sentence as another devil, it would always be the War Devil and Chainsaw Man. It would never be the War Devil and Chainsaw Devil. It was always the War Devil and Chainsaw Man. The series should have ended with part 1. I think, in hindsight, what I would have liked is part 2 to have just been a bit shorter. And like in hindsight, unfortunately, even though she's my favorite character, I would have cut down some of the Asa and Yoru storyline because I don't think the payoff was worth it in the end. And I would have kept part 2 smaller. I really liked the addiction part of part 2. I thought that was really good. But yeah, I think Makima was the only. To be fair, Makima was the only person I think that on one occasion called him the Chainsaw Devil. It was one occasion I think she said Chainsaw Devil, but I can't remember the context, and it could just be a translation mistake because I think that was very early on. But then from then on, she never said Chainsaw Devil. She always said Chainsaw Man. So it could just be a translation mistake that got fixed later on down the line. In this timeline, Denji will probably die like a bum against a super weak devil. I mean, I don't think he's a bum. He clearly has skills because he helped defeat this power with power. So he's clearly still got skills, and I assume he still get trained by Kishibe. But Katana Man probably kills him. Mm-hmm. Was it the end of part 1 she said Chainsaw Devil? Let's just see if we can quickly scan through. Because I do remember her saying it at one point, but I thought it was like at the beginning, but maybe it was during the final fight. Let's quickly skim through. I wouldn't even know where it would have been that she says it. Yeah, because like here she calls him Chainsaw Man. Man, I miss this era of Chainsaw Man so bad. I don't think Fujimoto will make a part 3, no. Because it didn't end by saying part 2 end like it did in like it did in part 1. Just me, or was hoping for a 100-page chapter? So I remember seeing people say that their cope was that there was still room for 3 chapters left in the final volume. But you always got to remember that you minus one of them because the final volume will always have an epilogue. So there was room for 2 chapters left, and this chapter ended up being the same page as 2 chapters. So, but I think I'm going to end the stream there, and I should probably start working on the chapter review and try and figure out this timeline reset, man. Is there rhymes and reason to it, or was Fujimoto just full themes and such in his way to the end? I'm muted? Not on my side. But not muted on my side. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there anyway. Thank you everyone for watching Themes and Such, man. And then I'll load final chapter review probably tomorrow. Shonen Jump said, look forward to next Fujimoto work. GG's then. I will look forward to Fujimoto's work. I just hope he's had therapy between now and then.